Hey guys, Happy New Year. Welcome back to the Fanatic Rundown. Unfortunately, we don't get to talk about an Oilers victory today. For the second straight game, the Oilers fall in OT. Today they lose 3-2 to the New York Islanders. I think today was a much better effort overall. I missed the first period, but I caught most of it on the radio on 6:30 CHED. It sounded like the Oilers were better. The second period, which I did see, I thought they were excellent. They came out of it up 2-1. They, of course, gave up the first goal of the game again today, as per usual. I think it was in 19 of their 23 games now that they've given up the first goal, so it's pretty much standard operating procedure for the Oilers right now. Gave up the lead in the third. Islanders tied at 2-2. For most of the third period, the Oilers didn't even have a shot on goal. When you barely get a shot on goal in the third period and you're hanging onto a 1-goal lead, it's not exactly a recipe for success. The only real bright spot out of the last two games is the Oilers did get points for their losses, so that's one thing they weren't getting earlier during the long losing streak, was any of the losses coming in overtime, so they could at least bank a point out of it, because we know as the season wears down and you get close to the end, every point matters. So we found out just before the game that Mike Smith and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins were out. According to reports after the game, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins has flown back to Edmonton for some tests, so we won't see him for the rest of the road trip. Mike Smith has a new upper body injury that is keeping him out of the lineup. That's different from his last injury that kept him out for most of the season so far. Once again, the injury they're saying is day-to-day, but the last one was day-to-day too. Day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully it's not as bad as the last one. In the first intermission, Elliot Friedman and David Amber were talking about the Oilers' coaching situation. David Amber brought up that there was rumors connecting Mike Babcock to the Oilers. Elliot Friedman said those rumors are not true. So if you don't want Mike Babcock coming to Edmonton, at least for now, it doesn't look like that's happening. But according to a tweet I saw from Beer League Heroes, Elliot Friedman said there is some smoke to the Oilers possibly making a coaching change. If you're on Oilers Twitter right now, I'd say probably close to 80 to 90% of the tweets I'm seeing anyway are calling for Dave Tippett to be fired. Some people want Bob Nicholson and Ken Holland fired too. I don't see Bob Nicholson or Ken Holland being fired at this point, but with each passing loss, I would say the chances that Dave Tippett could be relieved of his duties are growing greater. I'd still be kind of shocked at this point if it happened right away. I know I talked about it yesterday in the Fanatic Rundown pretty extensively. I think for all Oilers fans, it's just getting incredibly frustrating watching these losses. We've watched them for over a decade now, and everyone wants this team to be better now, and it's frustrating to watch them go into this spiral again. Lost 9 of the last 11 games now, and I hate doing these downtrodden videos. Like, I hate being sad or miserable. Like, I want to come into these videos and be like, yeah, we celebrated another big Oilers win, the guys are doing great, but the sad reality is that there isn't really much great news to report on as of late. Like, December was miserable again for the Oilers. January hasn't started off much better, but at least it was only an overtime loss. Like, hopefully they can get their first win of 2022 here right away so we can start having fun again. Like, I love hockey. I love watching the Oilers. Losing is part of watching hockey. It's going to happen. Like, no team wins every hockey game. But I think we're all ready to see the Oilers win far more than they lose. And right now their record is still not terrible, 18-12-2. The sky isn't falling completely, but the Oilers had that hot start, and it's basically all that's keeping them afloat right now. There's not really the cap room there for the Oilers to make a big trade at this point. If there's going to be a big change made, it almost has to be at the coaching position. The Oilers have fired coaches left and right over the last 10 years, and the vast majority of the time, coaching changes really haven't helped the Oilers. If they can maybe bring in the right person if they do make a change, mentioned yesterday, Bruce Boudreau in Vancouver is the popular go-to example right now. If you can get like a Bruce Boudreau change, then yeah, of course, it could really spark the Oilers, but at the same time, they could bring in another guy and might not make any change at all. So it's really hard to say. It could make a change, could do nothing. At the end of the day, it's got to be on the players. The players have to perform. I know a lot of people were frustrated with seeing Devin Shore promoted with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins out, and Warren Foegele was taken out of the top 6, though I think he did get ended up getting some playing time up there today. But yeah, I definitely would have had Warren Foegele in there over Devin Shore. I know Devin Shore scored last game, if that was the measuring stick that Tippett's going off of right now. Like, Devin Shore hasn't been terrible lately, of course, but I still think you have a better chance with Warren Foegele up there. I don't want to be a sky is falling guy. I don't want to be a fire Tippett guy. Something's got to happen here. The guys got to figure it out, or if the guys can't figure it out, maybe a change does have to be made. I know the guys were tired probably. It's back-to-back afternoon games. That's probably going to wear on you a bit, but the Oilers got to find a way to string some wins together here. But on the plus side, I think Mikko Koskinen looked pretty good today. Some people are going to say you probably want that overtime winning goal back, but I think as Bob Stauffer pointed out on the broadcast, if Koskinen doesn't play as well as he does before the overtime, the Oilers probably don't get to overtime. So really strong game for Koskinen. That was great to see. Just looking at the Oilers' schedule coming up, next game is against the New York Rangers on Monday at 5. Then they got Toronto on Wednesday at 5. Then their game next Saturday against the Islanders is postponed. Looks like the game on the 10th against Ottawa is a go. But then again, following that, their games on the 12th against Minnesota, 14th against Vegas, and the 16th against Winnipeg are all postponed for the time being. So the Oilers just have 3 games basically in the next 2 weeks. So that should be helpful in a few ways. It gets the Oilers a ton of practice time. If they're tired, they get a lot of rest. And for the injuries for Mike Smith and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, if they do end up missing some time, looks like they would probably only miss 3 games at most. I guess until we know the true severity of their injuries, could be longer. And I guess depending on Mike Smith's injury and the severity of it, I don't know if we'll see Stuart Skinner called back up or not. Obviously, the Oilers have the day off tomorrow, and then there's a day in between the Rangers and Maple Leafs games. And then 4 days after that before they play the Senators. So realistically, Koskinen could play all 3 games. I'm going to give my play of the game today to Darnell Nurse. He stopped a sure goal in the 3rd. Koskinen was down and out, and Darnell Nurse blocked an opportunity when it was still 2-2. If the Islanders put that puck in, it's probably at least a 3-2 Islanders win in regulation. So Darnell Nurse's big save there didn't preserve an Oilers win, but it did preserve them getting a very crucial point in the standings. And player of the game, I'm going to give to Mikko Koskinen. Thought he played really well today. And like I said, with Darnell Nurse, he helped preserve a point for the Oilers in the standings, which could be really crucial down the road. Well, I think that's all for today, guys. Let me know what you thought of the game in the comment section below. If this is your first visit to the channel, please consider liking and subscribing for all the latest Oilers content. You've been watching the Oilers Fanatic. Thanks for being a fan. Have a happy new year, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll talk to you again soon. Take care, guys.